The sardine run has a major effect on the economy of the south coast, especially in the early winter months, June, July, when the sardines come through, bringing with them an influx of dolphins, bottlenose dolphins, around about 3,000 of them, common dolphins, between 10, 15, maybe even 20,000 common dolphins, and obviously the humpback whales, minke whales, and even over the last couple of years, we've had orcas. With them coming through, it just brings that influx and the injection of the cash flow coming into southern KZN.
People sort of talk about the frenzy, they call it sardine fever on the south coast. What is it, do you think, is this so? Does it really happen?
There's a big connotation to sardines and the sardine fever, and especially amongst the locals. Quite often you'll phone a guy and just get a voicemail, or you'll go to the business and there's a signboard, "Gone fishing." And obviously the very first thing that you do is you go and look down at the beach, and there all the guys, fishing rod in hand, cast nets, and they're busy trying to get their fair share of the sardine bounty. It has a major effect on the coast.
We've heard stories that in the past, in the old days, the fishermen used to have this cat and mouse game of catching a fish. Is there any truth in that?
How do you mean cat and mouse?
Apparently they used to spot sardines and they would
okay.
draw other pieces away and misdirect
Okay,
other pieces.
I can answer that one. The sardine netters play a big cat and mouse game with each other, especially in years gone by when there were no cell phones, there were very few radios available, and there were very few aircraft, especially microlights. And what they used to do was they used to get a tip-off, and if the sardines were north, they would actually get one of their crews to head south at a hell of a speed, and all the locals and the other fishermen follow them. Then there'll be one group that would have slowly ambled away in no hurry at all, and they'd have gone north. And they would have been chasing the real McCoy. The other guys were the decoy. And so that is how they kept bluffing the rest of the fraternity, the sardine fraternity. And this took place many, many times. But now with cell phones, radios, microlights, aircraft in the air, now it's very much more difficult to pull the wool over the rest of the guys' eyes.
And what anecdotes come to mind, and funny stories about sardines, the sardine frenzy comes to mind?
I've got many funny stories about the sardine frenzy. But the one that comes to mind first and foremost was at Pumula. There was a gentleman that came along with his wife dressed in a yellow tracksuit, and he had a broken leg or something of that sort and was on crutches. In the one hand he had a deck chair, in the other hand he had his beers. Placed the deck chair down, said to the wife, "Vrou, loop haal die sardines." And she had a wash basket. And she went in and she was just at the water's edge. Now Pumula's got a big shore break, and she was just at the water's edge picking up the odds and sods when a huge shore break came in, broke clean over her, turned her upside down, and this woman forgot all about everything excepting for these sardines. Eventually she climbed in and she started picking the sardines, and by the time she had filled her basket, her bra was facing backwards, laden full of sand, and her pants were hanging at her knees. But she wasn't concerned at all. Then a second one in the same place where a lady was scooping the sardines with her dress. And eventually when she filled up her dress, she walked out the water holding it up in front of her for everyone to see. And as she was walking past us, all the guys were looking, and she turned around and she said to us something like, "Well, have you never ever seen something like this before?"
That's brilliant. Just stop it with, okay, Yanni.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a mundane type of question because we've asked everyone, but we need it for the sound bites. Where do you think the sardines come from, and what do you think keeps them away from the shore? Like now,
Okay.
they're not here now.
Okay. The sardines come from the Western Cape area, around Hermanus, where the water's nice and cold. Along the west coast, extending right up into extending into southwest Africa, we have a resident population, and that is the spawning population, that's a breeding stock. But on the west coast, on the Hermanus coast, we have a population of sardines that are netted there throughout the year, even extending right up into the Port Elizabeth area. And as the winter approaches, so the cold fronts move these sardines up towards KZN. And as the cold fronts extend the cold water into the Transkei or old Transkei waters, northern Eastern Cape, so the continental shelf will narrow. And with the narrowing of the continental shelf, these sardines are forced closer inshore by the currents and the predators. By that stage, predators will vary from various species of shark through to dolphins and, of course, fish. They force the sardine closer inshore and into the Port Edward area, where they come very close inshore, extending up northwards up towards Durban. By the time they are in the southern KZN waters, they physically forced closer inshore by the predators and the currents. Now, at the moment, we have a slight problem. That is, the water temperatures haven't dropped sufficiently, and we don't have the underwater thermoclines. So the water temperature is still very warm now, holding the sardines back in the cold water of the Transkei. As soon as that changes and the water temperature drops in southern KZN, we should have a mass exodus of the sardines from the northern ends of the Eastern Cape heading up into southern KZN, where the run should take place.
Have you got the gist of the question?
Yeah.
All right, when you're ready.
Every year in the winter months, the aloes bloom on the south coast of KZN. And it's been thought that when the aloes bloom, so the sardines will arrive. But now what we have is aloes blooming and no sardines. So, in my opinion, even if the aloes bloom every year, the sardines will not necessarily arrive at that same time. At the moment the aloes are blooming, we don't have sardines. But in previous years, within like 6 weeks of the aloes blooming, the sardines will arrive. But that, I believe, all depends on rainfall in your summer and your cold fronts, your winter temperatures, and most importantly, your sea temperatures.
Okay, what other indicators are there that people have used over the years of sardines being around? What indicators are there?
Okay. Indicators with the sardine run are normally the aloes blooming, according to the old fishermen's legends, and the obvious is the Cape gannet or malchus. When the Cape gannets come through into this area, then we know that the sards are around. And what I'm saying is when they come through in mass, then the sards are around. But at the moment, we have dribs and drabs, 30s and 40s of the Cape gannets. There are the occasional pockets of sardines, like yesterday I had sardines. But people believe that if you see Cape gannets, there are sardines, and if there are no Cape gannets, there are no sardines. That's not actually true, because often we find sardines with no Cape gannets at all, and often we find lots of Cape gannets, and they're feeding on red-eyed sardines, not the genuine Natal sard.
One of the things that was put forward was that over the years, overfishing has depleted game fish, and that's affected the sardines being pushed onto the shore.
Okay. The overfishing of the game fish, I don't believe, has really affected the sardine run with the sardines coming inshore. You see, the game fish aren't the only fish that feed or prey upon them. What about the common dolphins, the bottlenose dolphins? Although bottlenose don't feed on the sardines, they feed on the fish that go with the sardines. The shad population is doing quite well now, and obviously the winter migration of the sharks, like the copper sharks, bronze whalers, spinner sharks, and the duskies, the grey sharks. So these sharks also have a major role in forcing those sardines closer inshore. The overfishing of the pelagic game fish, I don't think is the only answer to that.
And lastly, what is your view on the danger of diving or being in with the sardines from a shark point of view?
The danger of swimming in the water and diving while the sardine run is on, I don't think is really that great, because those sharks are actually, they gorged pretty full and they're concentrating on something totally different. They're concentrating on the fish, the sardines, the game fish, the shad, etc. They're not really concentrating on people in the water. I do believe that if there are any shark attacks at that time, they could be incidental shark attacks, like the diver that was attacked last year in the Transkei. That, in my sense, was a provoked attack where the diver was physically lying directly above a bait ball. The shark swam through the bait ball and actually ended up biting the diver by accident. The injuries were minimal. The shark could have done a lot more damage. I think that shark got a bigger fright than what the diver got.
Wayne, I'm going to be taking you out. We're going to do a briefing here before we even go down to the boat. There's the boat ready at the water's edge. Okay? As soon as we finish the briefing, we'll go down to the boat where you can get on. Now, firstly, conditions. We have excellent sea conditions, a light offshore wind, and the surf is basically non-existent. Very, very flat, good launching conditions. Okay? Please do not be nervous about going out. I'm a competent, experienced skipper. I've been doing this for quite some time. Okay? There are very few people that can say they've had more launches than what I've had. Okay, so you're in capable, competent hands. The boat is a good boat. It is really seaworthy. It's not going to go out here and sink. Now, we're going to do a briefing here. I'll explain to you how to get onto the boat firstly. If you look at the boat, on your left-hand side, there's a big bight out next to the engines. You climb on from the left-hand side, you walk down the center of the boat, and there's a long bench hatch. We need half the weight distributed to the left, half the weight distributed to the right. You sit bum on the hatch, and at your knees, you've got a rope that you can hold on to. Please hold on nicely to the rope. With the little fellow there, we're going to allow them to get on. I'm going to assist them, and we're going to put him up against the hatch. And then you can sit just in front of him, and we're going to get someone sitting directly behind him that he can't fall over backwards. Okay? Then, once they're on, we can get the rest of the people on. Remember, climb onto the left-hand side of the engines, walk down the center, long bench hatch, sit weight distributed evenly left and right, and I know the very first thing everyone's going to want to go to the nose of the boat. You've got to bring the weight back a little bit that you can lift the nose of the boat up. Okay? We'll sit in the surf for a couple of moments. As soon as you're ready, I'll ask you to hold on tight, we'll get going. Please, hats, just take them off while we're in the surf, or reverse them, that they don't blow away. Because if that hat blows away in the surf, I cannot hesitate for the hat. Okay. Everyone's going to get a life jacket here. Life jacket. Okay, is that correct? Fine. Before we put the life jackets on, please, loose items, slops like this, it's best to go barefoot. And your shoes, they are going to get wet. If you don't want them to get wet, give to us. We'll pack them away for you in the boat. If you don't mind them getting wet, that's not a problem with me. But you will get your shoes wet. Okay? Car keys, cell phones, cameras, loose items like that, please can you put them into this box? The reason for that is especially your camera. Rather put the camera into the bag and then let's pack it away. Are there any other items that you need stowed away? Everyone happy? Fine. The loop at the top, pull it open over your head. You find at the bottom, you've got two long strings. Take that around your waist and bring it forward, tie it in front of you. Okay? Top at your shoulders, you've got two shorter strings. Bring them forward, tie in front of you. Once again, tie it in a reasonable knot or a bow.
Okay.
Okay, when you're ready, where do they come from and what is your theory?
I'll say they come from the Cape. It's the same Cape sardine as we get from East London. PE comes right the way through following the cold water. Definitely it's a Cape sardine.
Okay, now are there any clues to where the sardines are coming in terms of bird life and marine life?
Well, the one thing is that when the aloes flower, they're supposed to be here. But this year the aloes have flowered and they're still not here. So I don't know that theory at all.
All right, then how are people's behaviours affected?
Well, they go completely nuts on the beach. You've got to believe it to see it. I've actually won the 1 year, Mashane and myself, my brother, at Shelley Beach. The one woman got in the boat's hatch with her church clothes on and ripped everything out of that hatch with her church clothes on. I couldn't believe it.
And are these local people?
No, not Afrikaans, but Transvaalers. Yeah.
What about the locals? How does it affect their behaviour?
They also go a bit mad, but not as mad as Transvaalers, believe me.
Is there not an air of expectation?
Nah.
All right, then let's talk about the tourism and business aspect of the sardines.
Well, with the sardines, it definitely brings in business. I know it brings in business, but at the moment, with the no sardines, those have gone very quiet. I can see the difference straight away. They pushed it very big on the radio this year, and this year we've had nothing, so what can you say?
And is July the main month for the sardines?
Well, every year it's normally about the 20th of June. They normally use the first sightings start, and it gets thick in about the end of June, beginning of July. But this year, we've had nothing.
Okay, they'll be known to come later.
1991, they came 15th of July, 15th of July, and we haven't got there yet.
Okay, so there's still a chance.
Still a chance, yeah.
All right. Let's just go back to the top one. There's a theory that someone put forward that the depletion of game fish has affected the push of the sardines onto the shore.
I can't see that, because the last time we launched on the boat, every fish we hooked, the sharks ate them. And it's more sharks than game fish that pushes the sardines into the shore. And we couldn't get one fish out. Those sharks ate every fish. So wherever we were, from Ramsgate right down to, say, Park Rennie, they was complaining about sharks and that 30-fathom line. It was thick with sharks. We couldn't get fish out. So I can't believe that. Those sharks push those things in anyway. If they're not here, they're not here.
Okay, what was it? The depletion of
Game fish,
Okay, go for it.
I'd say no, because the last time we launched, we were about 35 fathoms, and you could not get one fish out because of the sharks. There are so many sharks. No matter where you were in the ocean, if you were in Port Edward to Park Rennie, you couldn't get a fish out because of the sharks. And the sharks bring the sardines and not the game fish. Definitely the sharks. They push it more than the game fish. My theory.
Is it dangerous to dive amongst sardines?
If you're not qualified, don't even try. If you're a qualified diver, you can play with him. You know the game.
Because there was that incident.
Yeah.
They say he brought it on himself. Okay, then as far as the people's behaviour, I just want to go back in history. People also spoke to us about in the early days, before cell phones and microlights and things like that, there used to be a lot of competition amongst the fishermen. Can you give us what you know about that?
We used to follow, in the old days, used to be BJ. And everyone followed one guy, was BJ from Heberden. He's passed away now. And if you didn't follow him, you didn't know where they were. Because he was the only one with the aeroplane in those days. Okay? So you just watched his guys, and you followed him, and you knew where they were.
Well, was there an air of competition?
Yeah, there was. Those days there was only about, I'd say, 4 top netters in those days. And BJ was one of the top guys. BJ, and I'd say Gradwell second. But BJ had the plane. And he had them buggered.
Would they set up a decoy? Would those guys set up a decoy and they'd run the one way?
Yes, they did that. They did that, definitely. But I knew who the BJ's boys were. We knew exactly where they were, and we stuck with the one guy. But those worked it out later on. They definitely worked it out. They stuck with him.
So just tell us again, tell us the whole thing again. and sort of the
Today,
questions, you know,
yeah.
From then, what used to happen to what happens to today?
Well, today it's totally, you can't, those are so quick now with the cell phone story, you cannot get away from it. The sardines, I had it. It's very commercialized, yeah, very commercialized. And it's like, those days used to be 4, we got like 20 O's, 30 O's netting now. And those sardines have got no chance. They get the beach, they gone. They got them.
Has it spoiled anything?
Not really. That's more for the tourism, because you're bringing the sardines to the beach. The old days, you only had a couple of guys following that were interested in getting sardines for bait. Today, with all the guys netting, it's better for the tourism because the O's are always there. There's a lot of people on the beach all the time. So you can go to any beach and there'll be a netter. Like in the old days, you had to watch 1 or 2 guys netting. The guys didn't know about it. It was very secretive in the old days. Today, it's open.
Now, what main industries do you think are affected by the sardine run?
Affected in which way? How do you mean affected?
Would it be the whale spotters or the...
Not really. No. It's a tourism hotel. Yeah, if you haven't got sardines as a whole, tourism, it's everything. Whale watching right through to the hotelism. The casinos even. They're affected by it. Because they come down for that sardine, because it's been pushed this year. Years before that, it's never been pushed, a sardine run. It's been pushed nothing.
Do you think it's going to have an impact on what happens next year? If say they don't...
Yes, I'd say so. If they don't come this year, those won't come and see what this thing is. Even overseas. They've come especially to see this phenomenon, and it hasn't happened yet.
Anything similar in the world that you know about?
Not really, no. What else is there? No, nothing. It's like this.
Now, I think it was one who said on his interview that out of the Manus way, apparently they net sardines all year round.
Right through.
But they don't beach.
They don't beach. Like, what happens, the sharks push them, and as I said earlier, there, it sees too flat as well, and they haven't got that sharks that we got down here. They haven't got it.
What about the shelf?
Continental shelf. Continental shelf is much further out there than here. Much further. Our shelf is very close here, especially the Wild Coast, it's even closer. But in the Cape, you can drive 20 k's out to sea and it's still 15, 20 fathoms. Where here you go 8 k's out to sea and it drops to 100 fathoms. So you get that wild sea, it pushes them in with the game fish and the sharks, but mainly sharks.
Okay. I think we've got enough.
Don't know.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I'd say all business down here was affected.
Every business,
Because everyone says, they close the doors, you want to go down onto the beach.
Well, this pub is affected by this little pub. If the sardines were here, I'd have 100 people in here today.
So why don't we just put that on?
Every promise is fighting from market
I promise you, this little pub, if you asked Lensel that last year you couldn't get in this place because I was frying sardines and trying it all different ways, you know, and those were going mad. It's all like they bring these sardines here and they show how much they've caught and that. At the moment, there's nothing. It's dead. Look at this place, it's dead today.
Why don't you put that
Yeah?
Okay, so
Okay, ask me.
someone said to me that there's no cuisine to be made out of
I don't think so. I don't think so. Sardines you can do 100 different ways, but if you know how to do it, the guys say, oh, I don't eat bait, I don't eat bait. But the way you do it, you put it on the counter here, they eat that thing finished. Flick their fingers, they want more, especially the woman.
you give us a...
Okay, basically with Indian, brought up with Indians, yeah, it's a curry, the basics of the curry on the sardine. You can flick it, you can deep fry it, you do what you like, but it's ingredients. You've got to keep it with that special curry is the flavor. That's the way. You just got to eat it. And don't tell me you can't eat sardines. Believe me, you can.